welcome along to our big match build-up show and back to Premier League action this Sunday as Saints prepare to host Chelsea at St Mary's. Now, of course, Chelsea in Europa League action on Thursday night, moving our game to Sunday and for the TV cameras just ahead of another international break. Let's hope the Saints can take some buoyancy from which we're claiming a win on midweek at Goodison Park for the first time in 21 years. It doesn't matter if it came on penalties, a win is a win. So helping me on this week's show and in high spirits after claiming a win at Goodison Park, we've got a real insight to how coaches' minds work this week and joined by somebody who's working very closely with Matt Tissier. Find out how it's head versus heart this weekend.
Chelsea are contenders this season, and on all fronts as well. So we know we're in for a tough game. So part of me, you've got your head and your heart. So exactly, the heart says we go at them, we take the game to them, we're at home, we lift the crowd. But there's moments in there as a coach where you want that. Of course you do, but you're up against quality opposition. I think the gulf now, Fred, between Chelsea and ourselves, we have to be realistic. It's not as close as we'd like it to be. It's not as close as it has been in recent seasons.
And joining us for the opposition view this week, we're joined by 100% Chelsea, and we try to find out just exactly what is Sarri-ball.
It's a very high-tempo, possession-based brand of football. I guess you could, you've got overlapping fullbacks like I know with Alonso and Azpilicueta, and it's very high press in terms of winning the ball back quickly as well. To be honest, Sarri-ball, I guess you can, as I've already said, it goes through Jorginho. Jorginho is the man you want to watch. You want to watch how Sarri-ball develops. Defensively wise, I don't really know how to explain it. I think we are still lacking a bit defensively. It's a new system. You can't really talk about what Sarri-ball is at Chelsea yet.
So stick with us for the rest of the show, and as per usual now, the episode is now available to download for most audio platforms in the links below, and if you're watching on YouTube, it is available in the link above my head. Do let us know how you think we're going to get on against Chelsea this Sunday. Join us in the conversation, but now it's time to kick off this week's show. Welcome along to our first half of our match build-up show as Saints prepare for the visit of Chelsea this Sunday in front of the TV cameras, a 2:15 kickoff. So help me this week to look forward to the game this Sunday, and another new face on the show, a person who's been trying to get on the show for a while now actually, and doing wonderful things for the community right now. I'd like to introduce Jody Rivers from the Matt Tissier Natural Coaching and also his own YouTube channel joining us on the internet. Jody, thanks for coming by, mate.
Not a problem, Freddie. Nice to see you.
Let's talk about the season so far then, I suppose. 5 points from 7 games at the current time of recording. Have we been underwhelming? Are we under expectations, do you think?
It's frustrating, Freddie, because in the real world, we don't state in the obvious, we'd want more points, wouldn't we, on board? That's that. And you look at the fixtures that we've had, particularly the home games, and you'd like to think we'd have more points on the board. I have to say that I am not surprised by the start of the season. I think that this has been something that's been coming since Koeman left. I was a huge admirer from a coaching perspective of Nigel Adkins and obviously Pochettino and Koeman. And I think finishing 3 points off the Champions League, 6th position, the feel-good factor around the football club was there. And I think that the appointments since have just been, in my opinion, catastrophic for the club. I don't think, obviously, the club have gone out and purposely done it and gone, well, we'll go for him. And I'm sure they've done their research. But the two appointments before Hughes have not inspired me. They've not inspired the players. That's a fact. And I think that Mark Hughes is sort of picking up the scraps, if you like. One of my biggest frustrations is that I don't believe this squad is as good as some people say. I hear some people in the media, some people that come on and speak to you, Fred, and they seem to think that we've got a better squad than what is actually being shown. I disagree. I don't think the squad of players that we've got is well, to state the obvious, it's nowhere near as good as what we had under Poch and Koeman. But I don't believe they are as, I don't believe that squad is a top 10 squad. That's my opinion.
It's become a gradual decline, and it's probably fair to state the obvious that our assets have been stripped from us one by one, sort of every season, and the board have been too easy to influence, let's say, and allow these players to go. But do you think that's where the problems are lying? I mean, you actually teach it into your kids the Southampton way, blooding through the youngsters, playing nice football, enjoying themselves. Where's the identity currently with Southampton Football Club? Where's the belief?
Well, the Southampton way's disappeared. I remember they doing a promo video, and it sort of, I've got no hair, but all the hairs that I have got on my body stood up when you seen it, and they had Matt talking, they had Ricky talking, and Ricky's words were, "I owe everything to Southampton." And when he said that, it sent a chill down my spine. It was unbelievable. You had Calvin talking about us being at the top of our game and things like that. And at the time it was, and the young players were coming through. But you look at those young players, Gallagher, Reed, Target, players that were given their debuts by Pochettino, and they've not come on to establish themselves in the side. James Ward-Prowse, for example, has been, his debut was when we first came up, and you could argue that he's not a regular, even though he's a regular squad member. So the identity from the academy and those players coming through, I think the best way for me is you put the young kids in when the team is doing well. That's the time to do it. So I can understand why when the team aren't getting the results that these youngsters aren't being come through. But the Southampton way for me, like I said, Mark Hughes is a manager. I don't see him as this tactician and this coach. I'm sure that he's got a wealth of experience in the Premier League. But, he's what he done at Stoke and with the other side, he got them hard to beat. He played, football that not always pleasing on the eye, but we can't all play like City and Tottenham and sides like that. So it's I think Hughes gets teams hard to beat, and I think he's actually doing an okay job with the players he's got, if I'm honest with you, Fred.
You said the Southampton way is dead at the moment. I think we've lost sight of it big time since maybe the appointment of Ronald Koeman, but I'm sure we can go on about this conversation all day, and I'm sure we can leave it to the guys in the comments to tell us what has happened so dramatically over the last few years. But if you were the coach right now in that dressing room, come Sunday afternoon, what can the current players learn from what you coach into your children? How can they change their mentality? Because at the moment, they are so fragile too.
Yeah, I think when you look at Matt Tissier natural coaching, how we coach how Matt wants the boys and girls to be coached, so with freedom and listen. At the end of the day, Fred, we haven't got Tissier. It's as simple as that. I think the nearest thing we've come to it probably over the last 2 or 3 years, other than Lallana, obviously, who was a fantastic player, wonderful footballer. And I know that people will be like, well, why are we talking about Lallana? Because of the way he left, etc. You could argue Tadic. I was a big fan of Tadic, and I felt sorry for Tadic, Fred, because Tadic was good and at his best when he had players like Pella and Mane and Schneiderlin running off of him. So Tadic would get the ball, he'd beat a man, and then he would be able to play that pass into space, into feet, and then go and join in and stuff like that. He hasn't had the players around him. So Tadic, the fans were getting frustrated with Tadic. I know that his work rate in defending wasn't the best, but my hero, who I work with, and that man behind you, he'll argue that he didn't exactly work hard the other way. Now, I'm not putting Tadic in the same breath as Matt. That I'm not saying that. But maybe he was our Tissier of this current era, on a different level. So I do feel for Tadic because, like I said, he would beat a man, look up, and all of a sudden there'd be no movement and defenders would be coming across. So someone of Tadic's ilk. Now, Elyounoussi, who's come in, he could be that player, but he's going to need time to come in, obviously a different league. But one of the players that I think we can get the best out from a coaching perspective is Redmond. Now, if you'd have said this to me 12, 24 months ago, I used to get very frustrated with him. Now, I don't know Redmond personally, but from the outside looking in, I think that he had a sort of a bit about him. You look at his social media, and I used to think to myself, well, is this a player that really cares and stuff? But over the last few weeks and last few months, particularly last end of the season this year, I think he's been fantastic. And the ironic thing is, if a Pochettino or a Koeman had hold of a Redmond or a Guardiola, obviously the incident up at City last season, I think we'd have a world beater. I wouldn't be surprised if Nathan Redmond moves on to a bigger club over the next few months for a hefty fee, because the potential is there. But while he's here, from when you're talking about a coaching perspective, I'd like to see players like Redmond, like Lamina, given more freedom. Now, Lamina can obviously irritate his fans because of his work ethic. Again, sometimes he doesn't look interested. What has he been told when he signed for us? Was he told that he was going to be surrounded by fantastic players, having moved from Juventus? I don't know. But Lamina, Redmond, Elanusi, these players need a platform to go and play and the freedom to go and play. But it's hard to do that, Fred, when you're leaking goals with the defence we've got and the fact of the lack of goals and that target man, that talisman that plays through the middle like a Pella or a Lambert.
Like you say, Nathan Redmond, he looks like a totally different player. He's been away in the summer, gone away to this American fitness camp, come back, looks stronger, fitter, sharper, once eager, hungrier, all sorts of adjectives you could describe. But back to the matches on Sunday, they're back at St Mary's. The home of Southampton Football Club, St Mary's. We've had one home win in sort of 12 months. We were close to a home win against Chelsea last season.
Can I interrupt you, mate, just to say that I didn't even see that win. I was working in America coaching for the week, so I haven't seen us win at home since we beat Everton.
Crikey.
I have 3 season tickets, which I pay for, so I just want to add that little bit to make some of the fans that saw the win against Bournemouth a little bit happier than me.
Well, I'm sure somebody can leave us how many games exactly it is in the comments. But how do you think Saints should approach Sunday? Last season we had that fighting spirit. We went 2-0 up against Chelsea, a debut goal from Bednarek. How should we approach it? Now, considering Chelsea are doing really well at the moment, Sarri sort of galvanised the Chelsea team. He's also getting the best out of Eden Hazard. I've actually thought about this a little bit, and I thought I can see comparisons how, Alan Ball picked out the best of Matt Le Tissier back in the 90s, nearly 20 years ago. I'm seeing that similar characteristics from Sarri with Hazard.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Sarri, like I said, I study coaching. I love coaching, whether it be Southampton's coaches or the world coaches. And, I'm a huge admirer of Sarri. And don't be fooled. He's gone in there and said we need time to compete with City and Liverpool. This is a man that has done incredible things with Napoli. All right, they haven't won a trophy. But Pochettino hasn't won a trophy, or Klopp hasn't won a trophy with Liverpool and Tottenham. So don't be fooled by that. Chelsea are contenders this season, and on all fronts as well. So we know we're in for a tough game. So part of me, you've got your head in your heart. So exactly, the heart says we go at them, we take the game to them, we're at home, we lift the crowd. But there's moments in there as a coach where you want that. Of course you do, but you're up against quality opposition. I think the gulf now, Fred, between Chelsea and ourselves, we have to be realistic. It's not as close as we'd like it to be. It's not as close as it has been in recent seasons. So when we get the opportunity, I'm probably stating the obvious, but when we get the opportunity, we need to make sure that we give the players like Redmond, Elanusi. I like the fact that we've looked to go 4-4-2 over recent weeks and have a go. But at the same token, again, stating the obvious, we need to make sure that base is solid. So if we do lose the ball, that will be when Chelsea look to hurt us and probably will hurt us. So can Cedric and Bertrand go at the same time? Probably not. So it's a little bit different how we play this. Now, I don't want to contradict myself because I've already talked about losing Tadic, losing Mane and going at people. But I just don't think this current group of players is the quality that we've had in the past. And I think to build confidence, we probably need to keep the ball and play 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 sideways passes just to keep the ball and the crowd not to be too frustrated, because if we try and force it through them, they'll win the ball back and they'll hit us on the break.
Yeah, and perhaps we could see an advantage of Chelsea playing a few days later, our Tuesday game, obviously Chelsea in Europa League action on Thursday. Yeah. And similarly back to where you said about the base of the team, I think Mark Hughes has tinkered a little bit too much, perhaps in my opinion. We played this 3 at the back system through pre-season. Didn't work tremendously well. We've gone to this 4-4-2 now. And now again on Tuesday night in the Carabao Cup at Goodison Park, we played a 5-2-3, it seems.
This is the thing as well with Hughes. People are probably frustrated with him because he's changing formation. People say he doesn't know what he's doing, but ultimately we're not getting results. And when you're not getting results, can you keep doing the same things and expecting to get different results? Obviously not. So he is trying to do things. I think that If you play three at the back, the two on the outside of those three have to go and be able to defend in wide areas. And when it's been Hoot and when it's been Stevens, even though Stevens can play at right back, he's not too bad at it. But when Bednarak played their pre-season, when they get drawn into these wide areas, it's a different ball game, Fred, to defend in the middle of the goal. You're up against wingers that want to take you, down the line and get crosses in, and it's all different body shapes. So if I was going to play the three at the back, I'd play Bertrand inside as one of the three, and probably Stevens as the other one, and then it's a toss-up to see who goes in between them, if I'm honest. But now I can understand. I mean, Cedric's ability to defend the back post has cost us again, which I know that people will talk about. But then you look, the problem for me there was up front. You look at Austin, you look at Long. I know that Austin has scored goals in the past, and I know that both of them will give everything they've got. But do they have that quality now in the Premier League on a regular basis to score goals, to take opportunities? The defence has got, when Austin was at QPR, even when he first signed for us, Fred, I think that the defences in the league since then have got stronger, they've got tighter, they've got more physical, they've got quicker. And so you've got Austin, who isn't blessed with pace, but he can't make that yard now that he used to be able to, because the defenders are quicker. And Long, we know what he does. We know that he's going to run in behind. We know that he's going to cause a threat. But ultimately, bless him, I do feel for him. It just doesn't seem to fall for him, does it? So, and that leads us to the elephant in the room, doesn't it? Gabbiadini. What do we do with Gabbiadini? Obviously, we've got Ings, but we can't rely on one player.
Yeah, and perhaps there's also question marks over the defensive pairing as well. Perhaps, people are saying that he looks like a bit like Bambi on ice at the moment. Vestergaard looks a bit lost. But should we pick up a point? Should we even dream about getting a 3 points against Chelsea at home? That was servicing good momentum going into the international break and give us a huge boost of confidence, seeing Chelsea flying so high. So what are you thinking for Sunday then? What's your prediction, mate?
Just a quick one on Vestergaard and Hoot and everyone out. You've got to remember the success we've had at the back with Van Dijk, Alderweireld, Lovren, dare I say it on here, but, the quality that he bought at the time. You've got to remember, though, they were next to one man, Font, who to me was an absolute legend. And I still to this day believe that I don't know what went on, and it's not for me to even discuss, but it's been a huge, huge mess, along with Calvin, obviously, still amongst the place, but Lambert, Schneiderlin. But when we had those players, Fred, playing with us, so, your Font, the Van Dijk, the Alderweirelds, the Lovrens, it was great because they had Font next to them. So I do feel a little bit for Vestergaard because he's come in and he's actually had to come in and be that Font towards the Hoots, the Stevens, the Bednaraks, the Yoshidas. So that's that for me. But with that in mind, going for Sunday, there will never be a time where I will speak to any fan, whether it be on a camera or in person. I just cannot do it and say that we'll lose. I cannot say that. So optimism, as always, we'll look to, I think we need to be patient with the boys. I think we need to realise that Chelsea will have a lot of the ball. And I think people need to realise that when we have the ball, Chelsea can, if we lose it easily, Chelsea can hurt us. So I think that the performances haven't inspired me. I think that if we can get a point out of this, a clean sheet would be amazing, to state the obvious. But if we could get a good point, that would then just, give us a little bit of positivity as we go into that international break. But to get all 3 points, I think it would need Chelsea to be below par on the day and for us to take advantage of that.
Well, keep the faith, as Jody says, but we'll leave it up to you in the comments to let us know how you're feeling about Sunday. But before we go, Jody, big thanks for talking to us. But first of all, tell us about your YouTube channel a little bit more. And if someone's watching at home, how can they get involved in the Matt Tissier natural coaching sessions? Yeah,
so the YouTube channel was set up about 2 weeks ago. I just love talking about football. So it's for Southampton fans. There's stuff already on there about Saints, like I said. The journey from the Dow and into St Mary's. I talk about my favourite players. I've got an interview coming up with Matt. That's going to go out on Thursday. Well, not an interview, a discussion about coaching and how, he's helped me. It's called Pep's Disciple. The reason being that Guardiola is my favourite coach in the world. And you'll get to see how Matt introduced me to him, and I got to speak to him. So Pep's Disciple is the name of that. So please feel free to, subscribe and like. That would be amazing. And I'm going to be talking about football in general and predictions and things and tactics. So it's great for coaches and players alike. And then Matt Tissier, natural coach, and this is our 7th year. We're down at Chandler's Ford on a Monday and a Wednesday, and it's for boys and girls of under 7s right the way up to under 16s, and they play for their local teams, but then they come along and they get coached by myself. Fran Bernardi was a coach, but he's now doing some fantastic work in the media, so he's moved on. But we've got Pele, who used to play for us, obviously, Pedro Montero, and a great group of coaches, and we just look to coach the boys and girls how Matt played. So lots of freedom, lots of skills and trying things, and it's just a dream to work in that environment.
Playing with freedom. Once again, you can check out Jody's channel over in the links below, and also available in the cards above our heads somewhere, hopefully before this conversation. But Jody, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thank you, Fred. Cheers, mate.
So big thanks to Jody for joining us this week. Hopefully he gave you a bit of an insight to how coaches' minds work. And for more information, be sure to check out his YouTube channel, available in the link below and earlier on in the card above my head. And if you are a young boy or a girl under 16 living in a Southampton and surrounding areas, then be sure to consider Matt Tissier's natural coaching, and you can look forward to some wonderful sessions with Jody and the rest of his great coaching staff. But one more thing to tell you about before we get into our second half is your travel advice ahead of Sunday. If you're coming in by train, be sure to check your journey, because there will be bus replacements between Bournemouth and Southampton, and no stopping service between Southampton and Portsmouth. Yippee. So be sure to check your journey before you do set off. And also our friends at the Five Rivers are opening at 11 o'clock this Super Sunday, so you can get a couple more points in before the match. So now it's time to move on to our second half, as I speak to Louis from 100% Chelsea, and to find out how Mauricio Sarri is getting the best out of the Blues. So welcome along to our second half of our big match build-up show, and the chance to speak to our opposition. This time we've got Louis from 100% Chelsea visiting St Mary's with the Blues on Sunday. Louis, it's good to see you once again. How are you, mate?
I'm very well. It's good to see you too. I'm not going to lie. When I last saw you, you were literally on the verge of tears, and I could not help but feel really sorry. I want to give you a massive hug, and it's actually nice to be able to do a Premier League preview with you again. So, it's I enjoy doing it with you because they're fun. We have a chat. You got the Skype call. It's a good laugh, and I'm excited for the weekend.
That day, oh mate, I honestly thought that was a nail in our coffin, but thankfully we are still in the Premier League and we're still doing these previews. But a couple of things have changed for you in the summer. Two managers, one's out, one's in. Same nationality though, both Italians. New manager Mauricio Sarri. Been watching your pronunciation videos, of course. We've got to get these things right. Mauricio Sarri.
I was sat there going, that's very good. I'm very proud of you. That's nice.
Do my research, Louis, mate. But how's he been? What's the difference between the two?
I think the biggest difference between the two is obviously you had two completely different styles in terms of a very authoritarian manager in Conte and a very, I guess, open manager in terms of Mauricio Sarri. The way he is with his players and the way Conte is, I'm talking everything, they are literally polar opposites. Put it this way, Conte, when he first arrived, first training session, nuts, berries, all that kind of fitness stuff, that was the diet for the players. So to unban ketchup in the canteen. He's very open with how they can do their diet, that he lets them handle it themselves. In terms of football, well, we've gone from getting 3-0 in a row against Norwich and a couple of other teams in January. The reason I say a couple of other teams because it's so forgettable that period in time. Leicester was one because the football was so dire and losing massive games. We've now got this very open, elaborate style of football. Everything's Jorginho in the centre of the park. I'd say, probably one of the best signings in the Premier League this summer. Obviously, we got him from under City's nose as well. And as well as that, he is just completely running the system with Sarri. And he's brought in this very open, expansive style of football, overlapping wing backs with Aspilicueta, moving back out to the right-hand side, obviously moving back from a 3-back to a 4-back. He moved Aspilicueta back to a normal right back position. Marcos Alonso is playing at left back, and it's proving to be, a very fruitful phase for Chelsea at the minute. And obviously, hopefully, come the end of the season, there'll be a trophy with it as well.
Well, I'm certain that Chelsea will be definitely challenging for the trophy at the end of the season. But you seem to go through these sort of cycles every 2 or 3 years. But it seems like once again you're refreshed under the new management. But a lot of the pundits, a lot of the press, they're reporting this so-called Sarri-ball. What is it?
See, this is it. I don't like that terminology. It's when someone puts a name to something of, it's Sarri-ball. Oh, look at it. It's absolutely fantastic. It's football. For me, as a football fan, I just want the ball to go in the back of the net. I don't care if it comes off someone's arse or it comes off someone's foot. Like I was saying, it's a very high-tempo, possession-based brand of football. I guess you could say, you've got overlapping fullbacks, like I was saying, with Alonso and Aspilicueta, and it's very high press in terms of winning the ball back quickly as well. To be honest, Sarri-ball, I guess you can, as I've already said, it goes through Jorginho. Jorginho is the man you want to watch. You want to watch how Sarri-ball develops. Defensively wise, I don't really know how to explain it. I think we are still lacking a bit defensively. It's a new system. You can't really talk about what Sarri-ball is at Chelsea yet. It's only been a few games. We'll talk about that come November, December. As Sarri said, he said, judge us then. But right now, like I'm saying, very possession-based. To be honest, it's a case of trying to walk the ball into the back of the net. But, a lot of people like to see that. At the minute, the big thing is beautiful football. And to be honest, I'd say it's some of the best football I've seen at Stamford Bridge in a while in terms of visibly watching the ball get passed about. And it's getting results. So for me, I'm happy at the minute, and it's looking very good.
Yeah, still early doors, but probably the best football you've seen since you last won the Premier League 2 years ago. Like I say, about that cycle of management, you see. But, you mentioned Jorginho. He comes from Napoli, around 50, 60 million. He seems to be ticking over the midfield, but one player in particular, the re-emergence, reincarnation of Eden Hazard. He'll be a danger no matter where he plays at the weekend. So what's happened to him? It seems like Sarri's got the best out of him since the start of the season. Pundits reckon Hazard's come back better after an intense World Cup.
I think it's a case of people are hyping a lot. You need to be able to judge it come the end of the season. That's when you look at if Hazard's emerged again, because there is this thing where he does have his we've seen that over the past couple of years, 15, 16 being a prime example of when he's fallen off the wagon completely. Eden Hazard, I think the biggest thing for me that I've noticed is the man management of Sarri. Obviously, we've already said that, he's at unbanned ketchup. That's just one of the simple things he's done. The way he operates with his players in terms of how he approaches them, being very open about his personal life as well. Just having a chat, whether it's about, again, the football at the weekend, he could have been talking about Serie A, whatever, if people were watching it. Or if it was about, how's your dog doing at the vet? It's a case of Sarri talks to his players and treats them well. And I think it's a very different approach to, like I said, the authoritarianism of Antonio Conte. And I think the re-emergence is due to how we've kept him happy. Obviously, Sarri has brought him in and used him to his full capabilities. You've seen this massive, as we said, re-emergence in terms of his fluidity of football, the way he operates. I think he's looking happier. And I think if Eden Hazard's happy, Chelsea happy. He's supplied goals and assists in every single one of the games he's played this season. And can't really say that's a bad thing.
Yeah, it seems like he's playing with a freedom, playing all across the park and a free roam, left wing, right wing, centre mid, putting 3 goals past Cardiff, looked like they were a Sunday League team. For Hazard, obviously one to watch. But obviously between now and then, and we're recording this on the Wednesday evening, you've got Europa League on the Thursday night against some Hungarian farmers. Mm-hmm. Don't know who they are. You're going to have to tell me a bit more. But what's the expected lineup for Thursday night? Will it differ so much to Sunday?
Sarri's renowned for not rotating his squad. And we saw that in the first game against PAOK. We played with a very strong lineup then, and that kind of affects us at the weekend against West Ham. I think it will be a fairly strong squad that will play tomorrow night, or last night if you're watching it on Friday when it comes out. I personally hope we play some youngsters. I'd like to see the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi and Ethan Ampadu come into the side. Like we said, I don't want to say Hungarian farmers because this is going on the internet, because I don't want us to see it lose 1-0 and then this gets found a few days later. But I'd like to see some youngsters played. I think this is the best opportunity for them. But I think we'll go with quite a strong team. And obviously we've seen what that did to us at the weekend against West Ham. the weekend after the PAOK game. So we're going to have to hope that it's not a similar result for us at the weekend. I think there was a lot of tiredness involved. However, you know, it is a home game this time rather than an away game.
And obviously back to St Mary's on Sunday. You've had quite a bit of luck over the last couple of years, coming from 2-0 down to come back and almost put the nail in the coffin for us last season. I think the season before that you won 2-0 as well, looking quite comfortable. Hazard on the score sheet, I think, that day as well. What do you think Sarri's approach would be this Sunday? And finish off with your prediction for us, please, mate.
I'd say it's going to be the same as it's been in every single game. Keep hold of the ball, move the ball around well, use your route to link up the play between Hazard and Willian or Pedro, whoever's on that right-hand side. Jorginho to marshal that midfield, and David Luiz, if we go 1-0 up to start, hoofing balls wide like Peter Kay in that John Smith advert. So hopefully, you know, we get the result. I'm going to go, to be honest, I'm going to be on 11. You guys look shocking this season. You've looked toilet brush. I'm going to say 3-1 to us. And I don't know. I just think it should be comfortable for us. But obviously, St Mary's last season, you know, it was a squeaky bum time for us towards the end of that game. So you don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting to see how the game develops.
Yeah, and I hope we come out of the blocks actually going for it this time and actually clinging on to our lead. That's something like we've severely been unable to do over the last 2 years or so. But Louis, a big thanks for joining us, mate. I hope it isn't 3-1. I hope it's 3-1 to the home side. But just remind everybody that's where we can find you.
If you want to come across to 100% Chelsea, sure, Freddie will leave a link in the description. Obviously, the #1 Chelsea fan channel on the internet. We've got Lewis doing vlogs, probably some of the best vlogs in terms of football on the internet as well. We do fan cams, we do discussion videos, Q&As, and we like to represent the voice of Chelsea fans across the world. So, yeah, that's where you'll find us.
Great stuff, mate, and we'll catch up on Sunday.
Cheers. Take care, mate.
A big thanks to Louis from 100% Chelsea for joining us this week. Go ahead and check out their channel for all of your Chelsea needs. And I'm sure if you see him around the ground on Sunday, go ahead and say hi. But what do you think of his comments? Is it going to be a comfortable victory for Chelsea this Sunday? How do you think we'll fare? Join us in the conversation below. But that does pretty much wrap up this week's show. It's been a long week, a double game week, and I'm going to take a few days off after the weekend whilst the international break is on. And if you see us around the ground on Sunday, come over to us and say hi, have your say on camera. But big thanks for watching, a big thanks for listening. We'll see you at St Mary's on Sunday. Come on, you Saints.